Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are unpacking a truly fascinating, completely radical philosophical thought experiment. We're looking at a text by Xu titled, "We Are the Obstacle Preventing Ourselves from Going to Heaven." Now, this presents a wildly unconventional look at the concept of paradise. Instead of asking how we get to utopia, this text asks a much harder question. Why, if given the chance, do we fundamentally refuse to go? It's a tough, totally paradigm-shifting read, and we've distilled its core arguments right here to make this complex philosophy super accessible. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive right in. I want you to take a brief second and actively picture your ideal utopia. Like, what does heaven actually look like to you? Who's there? What exactly are you doing? The text starts off by pointing out a critical flaw in human consciousness. For almost all of us, our definition of a heavenly life is surprisingly vague. We yearn for it, we talk about it all the time, but our actual mental blueprint of what that existence entails is usually just this hazy, undefined dream.
So, that brings us to Section 1, the illusion of heaven and redefining paradise.
The author establishes a foundational premise right off the bat here. Our baseline, universally accepted imagination of heaven isn't just vague, it's fundamentally flawed from the ground up. Think about the ordinary view of heaven. It's incredibly materialistic and deeply sentimental, right? People picture endless gold and silver, magnificent palaces, joyful reunions with all their relatives, and basically an eternity of doing whatever they want. But Xu argues this is completely backwards. According to the text, this vision isn't heaven at all. It's merely a mirror reflecting the desires and greed of ordinary people. It's literally just our earthly attachments projected up into the clouds.
All right, moving on to Section 2. The beverage analogy and the clarity principle.
To explain why having a vague, greed-based goal yields absolutely zero results, the author uses a highly specific and, honestly, kind of hilarious analogy. The text asks us to imagine walking into a high-end, five-star hotel. You sit down, look the waiter dead in the eye, and confidently say, "I want a very delicious beverage." Well, what happens next? The waiter can't bring you anything. Why? Because delicious is entirely subjective. Without clear, specific instructions on the exact ingredients you're looking for, your wish simply cannot be fulfilled.
And this brilliantly illustrates the author's point. Consider the incredibly varied options out there. If you just ask for something delicious, do you mean tea, coffee, champagne? The text even humorously lists things like reishi mushroom soup or, in a rather extreme example, opium watermelon juice. Because you can't explain clearly what you want, the hotel cannot provide it. The universe, or the path utopia, works the exact same way. Absolute specificity is required.
Which brings us to Section 3, a radical new definition, the minimalist utopia.
Since a clear goal is the necessary first step, the text then provides its own definition of heaven. And let me warn you, it is highly unconventional and pretty extreme. To really grasp Xu paradigm shift, we actually have to focus on what is absent rather than what is present. So, prepare yourselves, because the vision proposed here is an overwhelming departure from everything we consider normal. It is, quite literally, a world without.
First off, this proposed utopia features the complete and total absence of traditional societal infrastructure. We're talking no countries, no religions, no political parties or organizations. The text envisions a state of being with absolutely no money, no official positions, no laws, no courts, and zero police, soldiers, or government institutions. It's a completely flat existence, free from any administrative orders, where basic resources are abundant and safety is guaranteed simply because the structures that cause friction are entirely gone.
But the text goes even further. And honestly, this is where it gets truly shocking for most readers. It demands the total removal of personal ties. In this heavenly vision, there are no marriages, no traditional family units. There's zero private property and absolutely no distinctions or class divides between people. It requires severing the very emotional and material ties that most of us cherish and build our entire earthly lives around.
So, the crucial point is this. The author lays out 4 incredibly strict, unyielding behavioral requirements that we absolutely must meet to achieve this state. 1. No getting married. 2. No acquiring private property. 3. No participating in religious, political, or organizational activities. And 4. No establishing any special emotional or interest-based relationships with anyone. And the author makes a really interesting note here. Regardless of the era or the country you live in, these 4 things are entirely up to your own personal decision.
And that brings us to Section 4, the ultimate obstacle,
or the mirror test. This is where the text shifts the focus directly back to you, asking a really uncomfortable question. Why haven't we reached this heavenly state yet? According to Xu thesis, it's our own inability to resist earthly temptations. We just cannot let go of money, power, status, fame, and beauty. These desires are so deeply ingrained in us that our beliefs just aren't firm enough to withstand external pressures. We cling to these things, and in doing so, we essentially anchor ourselves firmly away from any true utopia.
To prove this isn't just some abstract theory, the author points to a real-world experiment that began back in the year 2009. Xu claims to have actually replicated this exact 1,000-year world lifestyle right here on Earth, creating an earthly prototype known as the second home.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer contrast. This second home lifestyle, a literal manifestation of this strict, minimalist heaven on Earth, has been available for well over a decade now. Yet the number of willing participants is astonishingly low. The text poses a powerful paradox here. Heaven has literally come knocking at our doorsteps, so why are people hesitating to enter? Well, because they cannot or simply will not meet those 4 standards of extreme detachment. Which leads us to the grand conclusion of the text. There is no external force impeding humanity. There is no devil standing at the gates. The true obstacle is laid out right here. It's our own entrenched beliefs, our outdated consciousness, our inherent selfishness, and our stubborn, unwavering attachment to our own egos and viewpoints. The idea is that once an individual's mind becomes entirely clear and resolute, nothing can stop them. But right now, we are the ones standing in our own way.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Are your own beliefs the ultimate barrier? If reaching paradise required you to drop your family, your property, and your ego right this very second, could you actually do it? It is a wildly fascinating, deeply provocative thought experiment that really forces us to examine what we truly value. Thanks so much for exploring this incredibly unique source material with me today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.